We start with that unfolding news, the details on this breaking story at another school shooting. It happened in east of Atlanta, Georgia, where law enforcement sources tell NBC News they believe 2 people are dead, 4 injured. A suspect is in custody at Appalachia High School in Barrow County. Ambulances raced to the scene as students were seen heading out of the building and into the stadium on a campus of about 1,900 students. I'm joined by NBC's Tom Winter, NBC's Marissa Parra, and MSNBC terrorism contributor and former special agent Jim Kavanaugh. Tom, get us up to speed. What do we know right now?
Sure, Chris. So a couple of things, and I want folks to understand that the information is coming from a variety of briefings that we're getting and people that we're talking to are getting. And so this information is subject to change, of course, as the investigation unfolds. But the initial indications are that there are 2 dead, and that number could change. It could go up from there as a result of this school shooting, and at least 4 injured as well. And again, that number can go up as well. The suspect is in custody. Whether they're among the deceased or the injured, it's just too soon to say. No idea on the background of the suspect at this point as far as who that individual may be. We haven't heard a name yet. We haven't heard what the motive might be for this yet. So it's still in its early stages. And you're looking at video showing a chaotic scene that's been taken in the last hour or so. And obviously law enforcement officials on the ground and talking with students and gathering information. So this is an investigation that is still relatively in its early stages. And we're continuing to await more information and hopefully an update and briefing from officials that we'll get later this afternoon.
So, Marissa, tell us what we know. I understand at least 1 person who was hurt in this shooting has been taken to a hospital.
Correct. And we don't have much more information than that. But of course, we know that so many people in this community are clinging, trying to find information. We've seen those harrowing images of those reunions happening on that football field, no doubt between loved ones waiting to find out the status of their loved ones who were at this school. So to kind of recap what we do know, at least 2 killed, 4 have been injured. We know the suspect is in custody, but we don't know if the suspect is included in the number. We definitely don't know any word on a motive. But in terms of this school, we know this is a small community. This is Winder, Georgia. It's sandwiched in between Atlanta and Athens, Georgia. There's about 19,000 people in Winder. And the school, Appalachia High School, the enrollment is 1,800. So this is a tight-knit community, Chris. You can see those images, those growing crowds between, of course, you see that 1 person being taken on a stretcher. We don't know the status or the details behind that specifically, but lots and lots of people crowded around, undoubtedly trying to support each other, reunite with their loved ones. We have been getting some peppered details and testimony from people. These interviews that have been done by our affiliate, WXIA, has been doing a really strong job there trying to capture the scene, which, of course, in these moments, Chris, we have covered this all too often. It's always peppered with emotion and chaos all in one. I heard not that long ago in an interview with someone who was waiting to find out the status of her loved one, and she was very emotional and was happy to find out that her loved one was okay. But all of these details, of course, still unfolding. We just know that the first reports of gunfire came at about 10:23 in the morning, Chris.
All right. Our local affiliate actually did speak to a grandmother who has a grandson at the school, and this is what she had to say.
I feel really sorry for the kids that they've had to experience this, and the parents who got those phone calls that it was their child. He was with the principal, and the principal told him, run to the band room, don't look back, just keep running. So that's all I know.
I'm so happy he's okay. And you said your daughter is with him now?
Yes, his mom.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a sigh of relief.
Yes, ma'am.
Jim Kavanaugh, there is an entire community that is either heartbroken, well, they're probably all heartbroken, but who have gotten or will get horrible, unimaginable news. Others who, like that grandmother, will be breathing a sigh of relief for their own loved ones. But there are always questions, and the questions come up very quickly. They usually fall into 2 big categories. One is, how could this happen? And why did this happen, which goes to motive. Let's talk about how you get to the human part of this. And I know in the last hour there were conversations about whether or not investigators might even start talking to some of the kids who went immediately to the stadium and determine who might have actually been in the area or in the room where the shooting occurred. Is it best to get witnesses when the memory is fresh? Are they too much in shock? Jim, what are the first steps?
Well, with juveniles, you'll interview them with their parents. And so there's a lot of investigative resources there, Chris, right now. GBI, sheriff's detectives, federal agents. I mean, they got plenty of people. I mean, they could set out 30 investigative teams if they had to interview 30 children. They'll be delicate about it. They'll interview them with their parents. They'll assess whether the child can give the statement. And yes, it's good to get it when it's fresh and not contaminated by the memories of others. Because what we're looking at here now is a state prosecution for homicide. The reporting was 2 dead. And so that's going to be a major case for the district attorney. So you want to get that information down. They've got to sweep the house. They've already got officers at the home of the shooter or wherever that is. Often it's in a nearby community. Possibly it's a student, so they'll be there. Do the parents, are they there talking to the police? If so, they'll want to search and get a warrant. But if nobody answers the door, they're going to have to go in and see if somebody was harmed inside, which sometimes happen. And, of course, securing the area for bombs and vehicles and the belongings of the shooter. Once that's all done, it switches to investigative stage and, unfortunately, just a lot of heartbreak and heartache in Georgia tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it would sound like almost immediately, especially if there is a suspect in custody, that the investigative phase is probably well underway. How do they distribute that? What are the resources that are generally available, and what between local, state, federal, even if there are on-campus security officers?
We call it JOC, Joint Up.
Sorry, Jim? Did we lose you? Okay, we lost Jim Kavanaugh. Let me go back to you, Marissa, because do we know anything about the immediate aftermath of that? We could see what the pictures were showing us, which was students coming out of the school. They were going into, as I said, the stadium. You can still see in some of the shots that are apparently from above the students that are in the stadium. But beyond what seemed to be a very limited number of interviews that have been done, for example, with family members, what's the situation on the ground right now?
Right. Well, what I can tell you about is after we had those initial first reports of gunfire at 10:23 in the morning, Chris, we know it was about an hour later that we had parents and families being allowed to reunite with their loved ones. We know that there was a soft lockdown, but then Appalachian High School did permit parents to pick up their children from Appalachian High School alone. But that is it, because other surrounding schools in the school district, at last check at least, remained on soft lockdown. Of course, this is fluid, so things might have changed, but at last check, there was a soft lockdown for all of those surrounding school districts. And in terms of the security, the protocol, we have been getting a lot of information on all of the law enforcement agencies that are on the ground. Of course, fire, EMS, the FBI, but even we heard from the mayor of Atlanta. This is Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens, who, of course, sent his prayers to the students, the staff, the families affected by yet another senseless act of violence. But he did point out that he's been directing extra patrols around Atlanta schools just out of an abundance of caution. Of course, probably wanting to put that out there in case people did notice the extra patrols and didn't want that speculation to start rumors. So we know that there has been heavy police presence. And for those who are just joining, just to remind you, Winder, Georgia is situated between Athens, Georgia and Atlanta. And so there is a lot of increase in patrols, a lot of increase in police activity in those surrounding schools, in surrounding districts, in those nearby cities, Chris, just to be extra safe here. But we're still waiting to find out, again, 2 killed, 4 injured. We do not know the combination, whether they were students, whether they were teachers, or a combination of both. We know 1 suspect in custody. We do not know if that suspect is among that number there. And just to recap again, 19,000 people in Winder, Georgia. The enrollment at this school, Appalachia High School, 1,800. School started just 1 month ago, Chris, and we know that they were off for Labor Day, so you can imagine there was still probably that back-to-school excitement, and just yet another tragedy at a high school. These are young students, and even if they were not among the number, again, 2 killed, 4 injured, undoubtedly not just everyone at that high school, faculty, staff, students traumatized by this, but this very small, tight-knit community as well, Chris.